Hi everyone, it's Laura, and today I'm here to talk to you about Just for the Summer. So this is the third and final book in the interconnected trilogy of Part of Your World and Yours Truly, and now Just for the Summer. So this is a story that follows Emma and Justin posted on Reddit to Am I the Asshole? And there he explains his past about how every girl he's dated in the past few years, as soon as they break up with him, they find the one. And the most recent girl that he broke up with has ended up with Justin's best friend. And unfortunately for him, his best friend was also his roommate. And so when his roommate broke their lease and moved out early, that left Justin kind of in a hard spot. And so he retaliated by adopting a dog and naming it after his best friend. And then Emma and her best friend Maddie, they are both nurses, they're travel nurses. They were having lunch and Maddie pointed out to Emma this post. And Emma could relate because apparently the same thing has happened for her. So they start messaging and they have really good banter back and forth, and then they end up texting, and then they ended up having phone calls and video calls. And they were currently in Colorado. Their plans were to go to Hawaii next. I really like the system that Maddie and Emma have set up because I believe they do 3-month assignments and they take turns choosing where to go. And they base it off of a lot of different things. States they've always wanted to go to, what departments they'll be able to work in, bigger famous hospitals they might gain experience at, that type of thing. Well, Justin, he has a very distinguishing feature in his Reddit post, and that he is in the Minneapolis or St. Paul area. So they are near the hospital that Alexis in Part of Your World and Brianna in Yours Truly have worked at. So she tries to persuade her best friend by saying, well, we could work at this really famous hospital. And her best friend, of course, they were planning to leave soon for Hawaii. Her best friend was not on board. And so Emma tries to persuade her by finding this really cute cabin, because that's also, I forgot to mention, what type of unique or fun place that they can stay on their assignment. That's also important to them. So they found this really cute cabin that's on an island in the middle of a lake, and it was coming up on summertime, so they thought that that would be really fun and interesting. So finally she breaks down her best friend and they agree to go, and she surprises Justin, and so he gets super excited. And I'm getting ahead of myself because the reason that she wants to go on this assignment is they had decided that maybe if they fake date and meet all of the conditions for each other, then their curse would be broken, and once they break up, they'll be able to find their soulmate or their one. Because they've both, Justin especially, has said that he feels frustrated since it's happened so many times now. Every relationship that he ends up in right now, it feels like something's lacking. So they had come up with a few things: that it has to last at least a month, they have to be in contact at least once a day, they have to meet up for a date at least once a week, and that they have to at least kiss. And so that's the terms that they're going to fulfill. So Justin is eager once he finds out that Emma is there, and they try and meet up, and he tries to plan this kind of like perfect date, and it's really cute and it's really sweet. But that's one of the last times that anything really goes right for them, because unfortunately for Emma, she chose a rough time for Justin for this to happen, because something is going on in Justin's family where his 3 younger siblings, he has to get temporary guardianship over them. So his brother is 15, his sister is 12, and I believe his youngest sister is 5. I believe those are the ages. And he's moving back into his childhood home in order to take care of them for the next few years. So there's some challenges with that. And obviously, because they're planning to just date for this brief period of time, Emma doesn't want to be involved with his family or like meet any of his friends or anything like that. And then unexpectedly, you know pretty early on that Emma has some issues with her mom. She's very scatterbrained and very flighty, and basically only seems to pop in when it's convenient for her or when she needs money from Emma. And unexpectedly, her mom shows up where she is because Emma made the poor decision of staying where she is, and her mom was there. And all Emma and her mom's relationship issues kind of come to a head, and it's frustrating to read and see how things happen. And despite all that, I really enjoyed the story. I was frustrated with Emma and her mom, but not at the book. I was frustrated at the characters, but I did see realism in how things happened, and I did see realism in the relationship between Emma and her mom. And also, based on the fact that this is in the same series as Just for the Summer and Yours Truly, I wasn't sure how those two books would kind of connect with this story, because obviously Alexis was the protagonist in the first book, and then the second book was Brianna, her best friend, and they're still close and talk very often. And so I figured, and it's true, that Emma in this book, knowing that she was a traveling nurse, would somehow go to the hospital. So I thought she might interact with Brianna there, and then I wasn't sure, but I was curious how interconnected they were going to be, and it turns out more than I anticipated. And I feel bad because it's been a while since I read Part of Your World, so I couldn't remember all the details, but I read Yours Truly really recently, and even then I didn't always put the puzzle pieces together with who certain characters were in this book until, you know, they've been on page a few times. But there are numerous characters from both the first book and the second book in this book. So that was really satisfying, and that just reinforces my preference for reading books. Even though all these books can be independently read and you don't have to read them in order, I'm really glad that I do read them in order, because I feel like I got the most enjoyment I could have out of this book, because now I could look back and be like, oh wait, that's so-and-so and that's so-and-so. And it was very satisfying when that happened. And this book also takes place a while after book 2. It's interesting the time jumps that are happening in these stories. The one downside of this book is that what you run into is one of the downsides of kind of the fake dating trope. They're both going in with their eyes open about what type of relationship they're going to have, the expectations, it's all laid out. But then what happens when one person catches feelings and the other doesn't, or what happens if one person catches feelings and the other one won't admit that they have feelings. And so obviously the type of fake dating, I love fake dating for the most part. And the ideal fake dating for me is that something happens and they're fake dating, and then they both catch feelings, and then finally one of them breaks down and confesses, and then they agree to date for real. And I don't have anything against this type of situation, but because I grow to like the characters so much, obviously, if it's anything other than that idealized version of fake dating for me, there's potential for at least one of the characters or both to get hurt. And if it's a romance book, I mean, you know that there's going to be a happily ever after ending at some point, so you know that it will be resolved somehow. But in certain books, that doesn't always happen right away. They can be apart for a while, and so the fact that where they both were, I feared that it wouldn't be my perfect fake dating story, and it turned out it wasn't, because one of the characters was clearly more invested and more eager for the relationship to be real than the other. So that was kind of hard to read. And I still really, really enjoyed the story, so I ended up giving it a 4.5. And I'm super excited that now, having read 2 more books, that the Friend Zone from Abby Jimenez seems to definitely be the outlier with me and her work, because now I've read 4 of her books and I've liked 3 of them. So I'm just hesitant about some of her earlier work because I really didn't like that book. But this book did live up to the hype for me. And it's one of those things, because I'm newer to getting back into reading, and I want to find the hidden gems in the book world, but I don't know where to look or how to look. And so all I see when I get bombarded by all these channels about the same books over and over, it's easy to give into hype and get interested and read the same books as everybody else. But at the same time, sometimes when there is so much hype, you get your expectations up too much, and it's hard to figure out the best way to go about finding books that I will enjoy. So I'm just thankful whenever anything like this shows up that I've seen a lot of coverage and a lot of praise for, and then when I go ahead and read it, I do enjoy it a lot. So that makes me happy. And I think that's all I have to say about this book, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.